This is the rock and roll band called the Circle Jerks. This is their mascot. His name is Skank Kid on account of him skanking. Skanking is a kind of dance that punkers do in a mosh pit. Some call it two-stepping, unless you're doing it to ska music. Either way, it's the same dance, basically. Skank Kid was created by cartoonist Shawn Kerri, who in 1976 moved to LA to get more work, cartooning. While she was in LA, she fell in love with the vibrant and energetic punk scene. What do punk bands need? Therapy. What else do they need? Posters, pins, flyers, album covers, and merch. You know who does that kind of stuff? You guessed it, fair viewer. Artists. Artists like Shawn Kerri. We'll get back to the punk stuff soon because punk stuff didn't pay the bills. Luckily, she soon found work. As a crew person on a race boat. Also on a tuna boat. Oh, as well, she was like really good at drawing cars. Like insanely good at drawing cars. From any angle, from any perspective, interiors, exteriors, her cars are above industry standard to this day. This skill paid off. Literally, when a magazine aimed at teens all about cars named Cartoons hired the hero of our story. Hooray, money! Regular work on this title would help her pay the bills, as would the cartoons she provided to Larry Flynt's adult magazine, neither of which were the true source of her expression and inspiration. That would be the punk scene. Born in Covina, California in 1958, she moved to LA in the mid-70s. 1975, she gets her longest running gig with the aforementioned magazine, Cartoons. 1979, she begins to draw for Commies from Mars. Oh, also in the late 70s, she drew this skull logo for the band The Germs. This iconic logo is still being rocked by people to this day. Darby Crash certainly knew a lot of talented people during his short time on Earth. 1980 is the year Skank Kid debuts though, the star of our story. He first appeared on a Fleetwood flyer where we see dance instructions drawn at the bottom. Not quite Skank Kid, but I see this as kind of a prototype. The same concept, this time fleshed out to 6 panels entitled Slam Dance Instructions, found its way to the liner notes of Circle Jerk's 1980 album called Group Sex, the first panel of which would become the iconic mascot we know today. As well as showing up on the liner notes, it was also a yellow bumper sticker and a 10-foot drop cloth that the band would use at shows. Punks were edgy as fuck back then, Shawn included. She called the mascot the swastika-shaped Skank Kid. But don't cancel her, she was definitely not a racist, just an edgy product of her time. The cartoons were as wild and as edgy as you could possibly get, but she did it for the laughs. She was not a hateful person, and there was no hate in her art whatsoever. 1981 would be one of her most prolific years. She was hired at Cocaine magazine. She drew an even more detailed character post sheet of Skank Kid that the Circle Jerks used for their album Wild in the Streets. The flyer work would ramp up and feature other mosh-type characters that all call slam kids for the sake of this video. Some with mohawks, some bald. This sequential stage dive is my favorite of the lot. Truly inspired work. This Back to School with the Circle Jerks illustration also dropped in 1981, and it started to turn heads. Above the nun are 8 panels depicting the crucifix of Jesus. The panels are visually accurate to the real ones, but Shawn changed the captions. Those creative liberties that she used got people talking. This was perfect for a punk rock band that was promoting a raw and dangerous new sound. The Circle Jerks used that image to promote the album Wild in the Streets. Also in 1981, she drew this infamous poster for the Bad Brains Bad Religion show in which she spells Jodie Foster's army incorrectly, writing Jodie's Foster Army instead of JFA, which the band officially changed their name to by this time. It's a wild illustration, this thing. Big fan. 1982 was also a big year for Shawn. In it, she did this stunning Circle One No Crisis flyer featuring a bird's eye view of a circle pit. She also did the cover of DOA's War on 45, the Adams logo, and countless other flyers, pins, and stickers. She did not accept money for her work in punk. The only exchange she wanted was friendship. While the bands partied, she sat among them, drawing her professional work for Cartoons as debauchery occurred all around her. All artists wish that they could find this kind of freedom in their work. They wouldn't necessarily all do what she did with that freedom, but the point remains. In 1985, she began drawing for Cracked, and in 1987, she drew her last piece for the Circle Jerks for their album 6. During her time in the scene, she was viewed as quite a popular figure. She was dating another punk artist named Mad Mark Rude, who's a legend in his own right as well. She hung out with all the cool big LA punk bands, and her work helped define the visual identity of an entire movement. Shawn's importance goes far beyond being the creator of Skank Kid, of some mascot for a punk band. The visuals that go along with hardcore music itself wouldn't have evolved in the same way without her contributions. And those contributions are still being replicated to this day, even unknowingly by a lot of artists. That's how ingrained her work truly is in the culture. In 1993, she did this commission piece for tattoo artist Mike Sopp. The only problem was she signed the rights over to the character to Keith Morris a long time ago. I really don't think much came from this story, but it was the last time Shawn drew the legendary Skank Kid. Then, in the mid-90s, she disappeared from both the cartoon world and the punk scene. Everybody thought she had died. That is, until Brad Neiman got involved. And this right here is Brad Neiman. He's the man responsible for keeping the memory of Shawn alive all these years. Right here in this image that you're seeing, this is a Comic-Con San Diego panel that happened this year in 2025, and it was very illuminating. I learned a lot of stuff listening to this panel. In it, Bob said, yeah, everybody thought that Shawn was dead until he started to do some digging. He heard somebody say that they spoke to Shawn in 2003. So Brad went around and literally knocked on door after door, talked to coroners, talked to funeral home directors, talked to whoever he could to see if she was alive or dead. Discovered that Shawn was indeed alive, but had suffered a traumatic brain injury, a lot like Bill Mantlo, very famous comic book writer. I don't know what brain injury or what the accident was, but it left her with severe memory loss, as well as the lack of cognitive ability to actually draw anymore, which is tremendously sad. Somebody this talented, this influential, but Brad is doing amazing work keeping Shawn Kerri's work and memory alive. Right here is a panel with 2 members of the Circle Jerks, a couple different artists that knew Shawn back in the day, and they go through her entire history, her entire lore in 2025. That's this year, people, and I just find it so heartwarming. We haven't even got into the best part of it. In this panel, of course, Keith Morris showed up, which is great. He might be the most famous guy on this panel, and they just went through and discussed the life and how they knew Shawn. And a lot of the stuff that I said at the top of this video in that well-written part came from this panel. First, we gotta talk about what Brad did that is so incredible. So what Brad did was oh my God, all of Shawn's work is out there. All of these flyers, all of these logos, stickers, pins, album covers, you name it, it's all there. Why hasn't anybody collected it? So Brad took it upon himself, after doing all this research to find out if she was alive, then did all of this research and digging to find all of her work. He chronicled it in a way that's very digestible for everybody out there who's interested in it. We'll get to that in a very little bit. This man went through painstaking efforts for her memory, for her existence, for her legacy, and he did it all just out of curiosity at first and a deep admiration for her work. It's incredible. It is absolutely I get goosebumps just thinking about this kind of stuff, especially knowing the kind of condition that Shawn is in these days. And this guy just out of nowhere is we're not going to let this fade away into nothingness. No. So what he did was he started a non-profit organization, friendsofshawn.org. And in it, people can share, they can collaborate, they can discuss, and through all of those efforts, Mr. Brad Neiman opened up this Instagram over here, Friends of Shawn, in conjunction with the website, and it's just decades of her work. All of the cartoons stuff. Well, not all of the cartoon stuff. She worked there for 20 years. But the timeline is all here. Early illustrations, early photographs of Shawn herself, and then mixed into that, what Brad does to celebrate and honor Shawn Kerri's work is celebrate her birthday and gets just a bunch of stuff from the community, a whole bunch of notes and letters and gifts. And he actually goes to Shawn Kerri herself and delivers it. It is absolutely so friggin' heartwarming. Peep this slide over here. This is a happy birthday Shawn post. Just bags and bags of stuff, a trunk full of gifts from the community, and Shawn herself enjoying all of this stuff. Dude, it is so beautiful. It is so heartwarming. This shot here in particular, it's very poetic. The chain link fence, how she's like fenced off in prison from her past. Oh, I can't with this shot. And she's just looking downward at this piece of mail. Does she even really remember? The emotions that this photo brings are immense. But if you ever want to go through the decades of work of the person that created the Circle Jerks guy, the person that created the Adams logo, the person that created this germ skull, man, you have to go over to Friends of Shawn on Instagram. It's all there. This is brilliant stuff. And if you guys don't know, I'm in the middle of drawing a cartoon myself. Well, writing, drawing, inking, and coloring a comic book, actually, a punk rock inspired comic book. After I discovered all of this work, I am deeply inspired. I will never be able to draw cars this well, ever in the history of my life. But her character drawings of punks, I'm gonna find endless reference and resources over here. And even the way that she paneled her comics, god damn, she was such a good artist. And like I said at the top in that like written video essay part of the video, she is highly responsible for the visual identity of that early punk rock stuff. Just look at all this brilliant work. Oh my god. Go get yourself an eye full of this stuff right now. The history and the lore of her work is so fascinating, but the quality of her work is right up there with how fascinating it is. And every artist should be as lucky to have somebody like Brad Neiman passionate enough into archiving an artist's entire portfolio of work like this. It is incredible. It is absolutely so cool. Any creative medium could have had her out there. She could have drawn for any comic book or any cartoon, done any comic strip out there ever, but she found herself in the punk rock world, and I think that that is so special. But I want to know what you have to say. Did you know the vastness of her work? Who are your favorite flyer artists out there? Do you have a favorite flyer? I want to know. Comment down below. I've been Dan Frampton. Hit like and press subscribe. Okay, goodbye. See you later and have a good one.